It was awesome. I mean, I kind of found Tony, most people find him through his events or YouTube or his audio courses or something like that. I found him through one of his books, Awaken the Giant Within, which is a pretty well-known book. And I read that, I think it was back 2017. I was reading that because I was dealing with some limiting beliefs, still am, of course, but I was like, what do I read to improve on this? And a lot of people suggest that book. So I'm like, all right, let's Tony Robbins. I've heard of this guy, but I don't know anything about him. I was reading that book, and as I'm reading this book, it's just like light bulb moment after light bulb moment after light bulb moment. Like, I was like, man, now I understand why I do this, and I understand why people do this, and I understand why this has held me back, and why I have this belief, and like just all these things, like crazy. And so like that book alone changed my life. But then I read the book, and I told my girlfriend, I'm like, like this book's been amazing. I was like, I started looking into his events a little bit, because I started looking him up. I was like, what else does he have? And found his events are like a big thing. I'd never even heard of his events before that somehow. And then we watched the Netflix documentary, I'm Not Your Guru, which you might have seen. And then after that, my girlfriend's like, okay, I kind of get it. The events look kind of cool. And then she surprised me Christmas of 2017 with tickets to UPW, which is his.
That's awesome.
Yeah, super cool. I did not see that coming. And it was like UPW is his main 4-day event. It's like 10,000 people, 4 days, like 15-hour days. Like it's pretty nuts. And hosted in like a hockey stadium. Usually this one was in San Jose, California. So March of 2018, we go there and we walk in, and like you walk into this place and it's like culture shock. Like everyone in there is like all pumped up, like exactly what you'd expect from like a motivational kind of seminar thing.
Right.
Oh, like, geez, what do we get ourselves into? Like my fiance is like, I'm about to turn around and walk out of here. Like, I don't know if but like, it's all like in a good way. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going in with an open mind. Just go with it and see what happens. Because I think if you go in with expectations or whatever, that can kind of change the experience. So we went in, and like by the end of day one, they break you so far out of your shell, like like doing crazy icebreakers with like strangers, and dancing and hugging and like all this like stuff that you're like, why am I doing this? Like I don't get it. But then by day 2 and 3, like you there's no other place that you want to be. And it's like, it's the most fun you'll have in your life. Surprisingly, like people think, oh, it's a seminar, like you sit and you listen to PowerPoints, and it's like, no, it's like very involved, very active. And you're constantly like, they're keeping the energy up, and there's a lot of reasons and science behind it too. But it creates the emotional space to have a lot of kind of breakthroughs, and left that event, and I swear for like 6 months afterwards, like I was just on fire. Like I had so much momentum. I lost a bunch of weight right away. I was like signing clients the left and right that like I didn't even know how. Like it was just, I don't know. And then that also kind of really set me, like I had been started to read and get into personal development a little bit, but after that event is when it really took off, and I started diving in hard on that stuff. Because I mean, you go and it's like, yeah, it's great, and you get pumped up and stuff like that, but there's also a lot of really deep psychology work that you do during it that like, again, builds on those light bulb moments that I was having before. So just, yeah, that was super powerful. And then we ended up actually going and we crewed one of those events about 6 months later, where we were like volunteer and we helped. And
Oh,
that
nice.
was kind of a whole nother side of that experience. I think the whole world would be vastly improved in every way if people just learned a little bit about kind of how the mind works, right? If they learned a little bit about beliefs and dug into why they have certain beliefs, and understanding their behaviors. Like one of Tony's main frameworks, probably one of his most well-known things, is the 6 human needs. And there's 6 human needs that everybody has universally. The first 4 are called the needs of the personality. And those 4, everyone finds a way to meet those needs, either healthily or unhealthily, whether they recognize it or not. The last 2 are the needs of the soul, and that's what leads to kind of fulfillment. So the first 4 are certainty, uncertainty or variety, significance, and love and connection. And those four needs, everyone finds some way to meet those needs, right? And then the last two, which lead to actual fulfillment, are growth and contribution. And so everyone finds a way to meet those first four. And so, like, you could look at anyone's behavior and, or like I can now that I understand those needs, and I can look at anyone's behavior and say, oh, they're doing it because they're trying to meet this need, right? He's doing this. This person's being a bully because they're trying to get significance in their life, or they're trying to get love and connection at the same time from their friends who are going to think they're cool, right? And so a lot of times we're meeting multiple needs at a time. If you are meeting more than 3 needs at a time, it's very likely that whatever it is you're doing to do that becomes an addiction. And so it's really easy, like once you have an understanding of that framework, to say, okay, here's why I'm doing this bad habit that I can't break. It's meeting this need. And so now how do I find a more healthy way to meet that need? Right. And so you're able to kind of like reverse engineer and understand all of your behaviors, or same for anyone else. Like, I can look at almost anyone else and what they're doing or not doing. I can say, oh yeah, they're doing that to meet this need. They're doing that to meet that need. And so just like frameworks like that to understand yourself and others, it's like, man, if people had just a very baseline understanding of that, like the world would be such a different place.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I think about this moment when you first, right at the beginning, if you kind of have been living some sort of unconsciously where you're not really realizing, oh, I'm just meeting a need, or oh, I'm trying to get that thing. I don't actually need that. Oh, I'm just trying to feel this way, or whatever we're trying to obtain and get and hold on to. That moment when we notice it, I feel like, part of our ego gets in the way and blocks it out, and it's like, no, that's not you, and it ignores it, or it hurts. It hurts to look at the places within us where we are inadequate, or where we're doing things. We're like, dang, I just ate another whole bag of chips. Like, here I go again. I didn't want to do that. I told myself I was going to have a quarter of it, whatever it is. So what do you think about that moment right there, where we first notice it, that little piece of awareness? Because I think that's a really defining. You can either, sheer away from it, look away from it, or you can say, huh, there I am doing that thing again. What is it that I'm trying to get?
hmm Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. Like, awareness is step one. Like, if you don't have awareness, then you can't fix anything if you're not aware of it, right? And so again, this basic understanding starts to build that awareness, and like you'll notice things a little bit, but then like the more aware you become, the more like the faster you can catch yourself and analyze yourself and fix the problem, right? And that's why, like, you hear about meditation and creating awareness, because when you have awareness, then you're more in control. So yeah, creating like that basic awareness, that understanding, is definitely step one. And most people just go through life and they are completely unaware of why they do things or why they can't break certain patterns, right? Like, a lot of people will pick up a behavior as a child to get love from their parents or their friends. So as a kid, someone who's very loud and complains a lot and that sort of thing gets them attention from their parents, whether it's good or not, right? And then 20 years later, that person could still be exhibiting that same behavior because they learned when they were a kid that that's how they get love and attention, is by
Mhm.
being loud and obnoxious or complaining or something like that. And so we continue to carry on these behaviors that served us back then but no longer serve us, right? But if we're not aware, then there's no way we're going to change, right? Or let's say your parents, like your dad, really really wanted you to get good grades, and like he'd either be really mad or disappointed if you didn't, or he would, he'd be super happy if you did. And obviously, like, you want love from your dad, and so that can turn someone into like a super high achiever who, but then that may turn them into kind of a workaholic, and they think that as an adult that the more they work and the more their love they're going to get, but it probably doesn't work that way to a degree. And so it's just like all these patterns are kind of like, if we can rewind and go back into our past and figure out where they originated, and which ones are still serving us, which ones aren't, then yeah, that's where that awareness kicks in and allows us to say, okay, here's what I need to change. Here's another way I can meet that need, that's more healthy and that sort of thing.